You bled for a child who wasn't yours, who wasn't even your kind, and you never once asked what she was worth.
Rain hammered the alley behind Kessler's Market when Dorian Vale first heard the girl crying. He was 34, a dock loader with knuckles scarred from a decade of cargo hooks, and he had learned long ago that some sounds you cannot walk past. He found her wedged between two rusted dumpsters, 6 years old, silver-eyed, skin faintly luminescent beneath the grime, wearing a torn jumpsuit that looked nothing like anything sewn on Earth. 3 men had already found her first. They called themselves collectors. Dorian recognized the tattoos, a black market ring that trafficked in anomalies, things that fell from the sky and didn't officially exist. The girl, they said, was worth more than Dorian would earn in 10 lifetimes. When he stepped between them and her, the leader, a broad man named Kaskin, laughed and told him to walk away twice before he ever swung. Dorian didn't walk away. They beat him until his ribs cracked and his left eye swelled shut, until the rain turned pink at his feet. But every time he went down, he curled his body over the child instead of himself. When the collectors finally fled, scared off by sirens 2 streets over, Dorian was barely conscious, but the girl was untouched. She pressed her small glowing hand to his bruised cheek and whispered a word he didn't understand. Ashenkai. Later, he would learn it meant shelter. He named her Ren because he didn't know her real name and because she reminded him of something small and quick that had survived a storm. For 3 weeks, Dorian hid her in his cramped apartment above the loading docks, nursing his broken ribs and feeding a child who ate almost nothing but drank moonlight-colored liquid from a canteen that never seemed to empty. He told no one. He didn't know what she was, only that abandoning her felt like a door he could never again open. On the 22nd night, the sky over the harbor tore itself in half. It wasn't an explosion. It was quieter than that, a fold, a seam of light widening between 2 clouds, and through it descended a vessel shaped like a curved blade, black as obsidian, etched with gold sigils that pulsed like a heartbeat. Dorian stood on his fire escape with Ren's hand locked in his, and he watched the ship settle onto the empty dock below, crushing shipping containers like paper. The woman who emerged looked, for one heartbeat, human. Then the light shifted, and Dorian saw the truth of her. Skin like poured starlight, eyes the depthless violet of a dying sun, hair that moved as if underwater even in still air. She wore armor forged in interlocking plates of jet and gold, skull-shaped pauldrons at her shoulders, and behind her, dozens of silent warriors in matching warplate fanned out across the dock like a funeral procession. Her name, she said in a voice that seemed to arrive inside his skull rather than through his ears, was Calith Vorn, sovereign of the Ninth Spire, and Ren was her daughter, stolen through a rift 3 months prior, hunted by scavengers who traded in stolen royalty. Dorian's first instinct was terror. His second was to step in front of Ren anyway. "You held her," Calith said, studying the yellowed bruises still mapped across his face, the way he refused to loosen his grip on her daughter's hand. "You bled for a child who is not yours, who is not even your species, and you did not once ask what she was worth." She circled him slowly, warriors watching in silence. "Do you understand what that makes you on my world?" Dorian said nothing. He was too busy trying to stay standing. "It makes you Ashenkai," Calith said. "Sworn shelter. On the Ninth Spire, there is no higher bond. It cannot be given. It can only be earned, through blood, through sacrifice, through choosing another's survival over your own." She knelt, bringing her starlit eyes level with his. "I have watched this moment through Ren's memory 100 times since we found her trail. You did not hesitate. She was a kid getting hurt," Dorian rasped. "I didn't need a reason." Something in Calith's expression cracked open, not quite human, but close enough that Dorian recognized it as gratitude, raw and unguarded. Then you will not need a reason for what comes next, she said. I am taking my daughter home. But a bond like yours does not end at a border between worlds. I want you to come with us, not as her guardian only, but bound to my house, forever, by right of what you did in that alley. You will never again stand alone against 3 men in the rain. You will never again wonder if anyone is coming. Dorian looked down at Ren, who stared up at him with an expression far too old for a 6-year-old's face, waiting. And if I say no, he asked, not out of refusal, but because a man who'd been beaten half to death for a stranger's child deserved to understand what he was choosing. Then I heal your ribs, erase what danger I can from your world, and I leave you in peace, with my endless gratitude, Calith said simply. That is also your right. I do not collect people, Dorian Vale. I only recognize when one has already given himself. He thought of his empty apartment, his aching ribs, the years of loading crates for men who didn't know his name. He thought of Ren's hand in his through 3 weeks of hiding, the way she'd stopped flinching at loud sounds after the first week. I'm not leaving her, he said. Forever's fine by me. The ship's gold sigils flared bright as dawn as Ren threw her arms around his waist, laughing for the first time since he'd found her. Calith rose, and for the first time, she smiled, a small, fierce thing, like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Above the harbor, the torn sky began to knit itself closed, and Dorian Vale, bruised and bleeding and utterly certain, walked forward into it, not taken, but chosen, into a family he never once regretted.